Right, welcome to Cat Channel, Cat Simplified Channel. Today we are going to take a look at database, specifically table. Right, we will be looking at different questions, how to approach them, and then I've also sampled various questions from previous question papers from different provinces as well. And then this session will be very good for grade 11 as well as grade 12. Right, okay, so now you let me know if you can hear me. I want to start. I think everything is set, so I can start now. Yes, the video will be posted in various platforms after this lesson, yes. Right, now let's start. When we talk about database is a group of vast amounts of data, which is organized into records called tables. Now, the tables give us a structured way to get access and manage our data as well. And basically, there are 4 objects in database, and in most cases, they ask some of these questions also in theory. The 4 objects are tables, queries, forms, and then report. Now, table consists of columns and then the rows called records. And then the queries are used to extract data from one or more tables. And then we also have forms, which are used for entering or modifying records. And then finally, the report would provide the summary of the data, right? So basically, in every database question paper, you'll get questions on tables, forms, queries, and then report. Now, let's go straight to different data types that we have in database. We have the short text, which contains maximum of 255 characters of text. Example can be name, surname, and then the short text in the old Microsoft Office, they just call it the text, and then the long text, we call it memo. So in some of the instances, you will see memo, which refers to the long text and stores more than 255 characters, for example, detailed product description. Then we also have numbers. They are only numbers that are not currency. And then we have date and time. We store only date and time. We also have currency for money. And then auto number, which assign a number automatically to a record starting with 1, 2, 3. Now, in most cases, auto numbers are unique. And then we can also assign primary key to it. We will talk about it as well. Then we have the yes and no data type, which is used to enter a Boolean value in the field, for instance, yes, represented by the tick, and then the no and check. And then we have the OLE object linking and embedding. That's what it stands for, which are normally used for, I would say, multimedia, for instance, the images, audio, video, and others. So whenever the data involves image or audio or video, we use the OLE object. And then we have the hyperlink, which is mostly for hyperlink addresses. For example, email, and then web address. And then attach files to records similar to attaching files to an email messages. So sometimes these multimedia can also be used as an attachment data type. And then calculated, we use for doing calculations and functions. So we will look at that as well. Then the last part is the lookup wizard. It guides you through a certain process to look up a field. So mostly we use for options. So we use for option values, or we can say combo box or list. So anything that involves options or list, then we make use of the lookup wizard. Right. Now, basically, there are two views in database table. We have the datasheet view, and then we have the design view. Now, in datasheet view, what can we do there? We can use or activate the totals command, which allow us to do basic calculations like average, sum, count, maximum, and minimum. And then we can also use the datasheet view to sort and filter records. And then now, remember when you use the filter command in the datasheet view, when you save it, it will not be saved. So we have to take note of that. And then we also use the datasheet view to delete and insert new records. We use datasheet view again to change background and alternate colors. We also use the datasheet view to change cell effect. The cell effect can be flat or it can be sunken. And then we will look at it also. Then we can also use to change row height and then the column width. So basically, this is what is expected from us when it comes to the datasheet view. But in Office 365, which I'm going to show you, especially those learners who are using Office 365 at your schools, we can equally use datasheet view to do some of the work that we can use the design view for. For instance, changing the size and then others. So we will be looking at that also. Right, now let's move straight to design view. In design view, we mostly use it to set our primary key. And then when we talk about primary key, it's a unique value or unique field. In other words, it cannot be duplicated and it cannot be empty. So we have to take note. Primary key cannot be empty. What does that mean? It meaning that when you set a primary key on a certain field and there's no value there, it will give you an error message. So you have to take note of that. And it should be unique. It means it cannot be duplicated as well. Right. Now let's move straight to the next one. Let's move straight to the next one. That's the properties. What are some of the properties that we can change in the design view? Field size, format, input mask, decimal places, default value, required, combo box, validation rule and validation text, and then index, as well as do calculations also there. So basically, we can do all these in the design view. So we are going to take a look at some of them, how to approach these type of questions. Right. Now let's go to some of the validation rule examples. Now, what type of criteria or what are some of the wildcards or the thing that you must know about the validation rule? Now, I will urge you in most of the cases to use the keyword between and then and. Now, these two here, when you use between and end criteria, when you know the starting value or the starting date and where it is also ending. So for instance, if we want to include all those who were born from 1st of January 2020 up until 31st of December 2025. In other words, those people who were born from 2020 up to 2025. Then we have to use between because we know the start value or the start date and the end date. And then whenever you are using date, you must put hashtag. But in this day, 365, you just type the date in the normal format. The hashtag will be there automatically. We will look at that as well. And then also, now when you see between means from, it means these two dates are inclusive. So it means from 1st January 2020 up until 31st December 2025. Now the age, let's say between 18 and 65, that means from 18 years up until 65 years. So we use between. And then for the names between A and M, which allows name alphabetically between A and the M. That means those names that start with A up until M. And that starts with M. And then like this one, not, we can also make use of not. Not inactive, meaning that we want to exclude inactive. We should not include inactive. So we can use not. And then we also have male or female. We use the keyword or to separate text. So we separate them with or, and then we put them, the string, in inverted comma. And then we also have the arithmetic operator like greater than 5,000. That means more than 5,000. Greater or equals to 10. That means starting from 10. And then less than 100, meaning that below 100, 100 is not included. And then the score is less than or equals to 50. That means up to 50. Now, we also have is null. Is null means it's empty. That means empty space. So if we put is null as a validation rule for a cell phone number, meaning that those who did not provide their phone numbers. It's not null, meaning that it's not empty. That means those who gave their email address will be displayed. Now, when you use this arithmetic operator also, it means not or excluded. So instead of you to type not, you can also use this one, that's excluding. And then we also make use of wildcard. If you use a asterisk, meaning that customer names check if I'm online. Can you hear me? Because my network I just got a problem with the network. Right. Okay, thank you very much. Now let's proceed. And then we also have another wildcard with a question mark. For instance, wildcard with a question mark represents a specific character. For instance, if I put J and then question mark HN, that means letters or maybe names with one character represented by a question mark. For instance, John or Jen. So any 4-letter word, or you can also use 4 question mark. So 4 question mark also represent 4-letter names. And then for emails, we can also use wildcard with the asterisk. That means include the @ symbol. We all know that emails include the @ symbol. So you put the asterisk and then @ and then asterisk as well. Right. Now let's go to input mask, character code. Now, input mask, what you should know is that 0, meaning that it is required digit, that is from 0 to 9. Example is if I put 5 zeros here, that means 5 compulsory numbers. Example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. And then 9 represent optional digit or space. For instance, if I put 3 9 with dash and then 4 9s as well, it means that you can have 3 digits followed by dash and then 4 digits, or the first 3 digits can be ignored like this one, and then the dash and then the 4 digits. So the 9 represent optional digit, and then the hashtag represent optional digit space plus or minus sign allowed. For instance, if you want to use a phone number with a plus symbol and other, you can represent with what? A hashtag. And then the L, capital L, represents required letter A to Z. For instance, 2L, meaning that compulsory letters, A, B. And then optional letter is also represented by question mark, so it can be ignored. So for example, L, 2 question mark, it means A, because that A here is the first letter, which is compulsory, but the second and then the third one are optional, which can be ignored. Right, and the capital A represents a letter or digit that are required. That means it can accept either a letter or a digit, which is compulsory. And then the small a is optional letter or digit, optional letter or digit. So you have to know this. In most cases, you are given this input mark character code. So you'll be given, and then you will know how to apply them. Right, we also have, and that symbol represents required character or space, any character or space. So for example, if I put 4 of these symbols, you can type any character there or space. And then capital C represents optional character or space. And then also we have, yes, someone say the screen is black. Let me just check again. All right, thank you very much. Check for me whether the screen is better now. Please confirm for me if the screen is better. All right, thank you very much. Right, now let's proceed. Now we have talked about some of these input masks and then the validation rule. Now the quick point to remember as a learner is that whenever you are dealing with input mask, make sure the 0 and L are required. 0 is a required number, and then the L is a required letter, which must fill them. 9 and then question mark are optional. You can leave them, or you can leave it blank. So 9 is optional number, and the question mark is optional letter. Then the greater and then the less than control capitalization. For example, if you put greater than, it will make uppercase, less than will be the lowercase. Right. Now let's start our first question. We have been talking about the theoretical aspect. Now let's try and solve questions. I've compiled a number of questions for grade 11 and grade 12, which you will need in terms of table questions, how you must approach them. Now I'm going to start with 4_com club. Don't forget, I've shared the link also below this chat. I think I shared it, that you can get all these data files and then the question mark, the question also as well. Right, now I'll open my first question. Now let's check the first question. It says, open the 4_com club database, change the meetings table as follows. Add horizontal grid lines in datasheet view and change the date property of the date in field so that the user has to enter. So we're going to start step by step. The first one, horizontal and vertical line must be displayed. So we open the table, meetings in datasheet view. So how do we open it in datasheet view? You double click and then to open in datasheet view. If you want to open it in design view, you right click and choose design view. Like I said, there are 2 views, datasheet view and design view. So datasheet view, you just double click. Now, what you must watch out for is the text formatting. Text formatting. Now, from the datasheet view, you will see text formatting. You click on this arrow. We call datasheet formatting. Alternatively, you can use the tell me what to do. You just say format cell. Or just type cell. It will give you format cell, and it's going to open for you. So if in examination you don't know where you forgot about it, you can use the search tool to also get there. But then where do you find the text formatting? You go to text formatting, you click on this arrow to get datasheet formatting. Right, now you can see that the grid lines are not shown, so you have to tick both. Now we also have the cell effect. There are three: flat, raised, and sunken. So sometimes they can ask you this type of question. We will check them. Then the background color. If you want to change the background color and alternate background color, you also find it under datasheet formatting. Also, we have the grid line colors. And then we also have the type of data sheet and then the border line, whether you want solid or dash or short dash. So watch out for such type of questions from the data sheet formatting. Right. Now let's move to the next question. Change the property of the date in field so that the user has to enter a value in this field when a new record is added. Now, there's a keyword here. Has to enter. Whenever you see has to enter, whenever you see has to enter, or another keyword is must or should not be left. So these keywords, you must watch out for that. When you see these three keywords, it means the property is required. Just like when you are filling a form, you cannot leave, you see asterisk there, meaning that you can't leave that part. You must type something there. So here the question says we have to change that property to the date field, the date ID field, so that a user has to enter. Now to do that, anytime you are dealing with the properties, you must go to data design view. So you right click on the same table, design view. Now date in, you will see the property here required. It says no, then you choose yes. So instead of no, you choose yes. Right. Then you save your work. Now it means that the date ID here, we can leave it. When you delete it and there's no date ID, it's never going to allow you to proceed. It's always going to tell you to type something. So that is how powerful the required property is. So watch out for that. If it's giving me this error, it means that you set a certain field as required, but then there's nothing there. It's not going to allow you. Right, now let's proceed to the next question, which says, change the property of the speaker field so that the user cannot enter more than 25 characters. So the user cannot enter more than 25 characters for the speaker field, meaning that the field size should be 25. So you go to field size, instead of 15, you make it 25. Right. The next question, add a field property or a field with a name photo between the speaker and then the topic field. Now, this field must be able to store a digital image. So here we have to take note. We are adding a new field, and then the new field will be called photo. Now that field should be in between speaker and then the topic. So we are adding a new one here in between the speaker and then the topic called photo. Now, meaning that the new field called photo will be replacing the topic field, because the topic field will be shifted to the next line. So how do we do that? You just right click on the topic field and you choose insert rows, so that to give you a space and then you type photo. Right, now, a photo will store a digital image. So meaning that we cannot use short text. Short text is for only text up to 255, but the photo is digital image. So anytime you have digital content, image, video, or audio, you choose OLE object. Don't forget OLE object. That should be the right data type. Change the field properties on the distance so that the value in this field will be displayed with 1 decimal place in datasheet view. The user cannot enter a value less than 3 or greater than 30. So here there's a rule here. Whenever you see cannot with a condition, that means validation rule. So here they did not tell you about the validation rule, but they have given you a condition. So you cannot enter a value less than 3. That means it should be 3 or more. You cannot enter a value less than 3, meaning that it should be 3 or more, or greater than 30. That means from 3 up until 30. That's what this question wanted us to do. So we have to go straight to the distance field. Here is the distance field. Now, when you go there, they say we might change it to 1 decimal place. So where you see the general here, you choose fixed, and the decimal place, you choose 1. 1 is already there. The question says should be 1 decimal place. So for you to get a specific number of decimal place, the format should be fixed, and then you can now put your decimal place. Now, they say the user cannot type more than 3. That means from 3 or more. So you say between. Use the keyword between. Between 3 and 30. That means from 3 to 30. So under the validation rule, we type this. This is what I type. Between 3 and 30. That means from 3 to 30, because the question says starting from 3 and then ending 30. Or alternatively, you can use greater than or equals to 3 and less than or equals to 30. But then it's easier to remember between, especially when you know the start number and then the end number. So take note of that. Right, the next question says, change the property of the claim field so that the field is displayed as follows when a new record is added. So whenever a new record is added, it should be checked. Now, whenever you see this type of question, when a new record is added, then we call it default value. Default value, meaning that it will be there automatically. You don't have to type it. So here the claim field is yes or no, and then the default value should not be no, it should be yes. Because automatically you don't need to enter anything. Now let's check how it's going to work. Yes means tick. Now it says yes, but the question says should be tick. So we go back to the format. Instead of yes and no, we choose either on or off or true or false. Since on and off will be the right thing for the check. It should be ticked there. It cannot be yes or no. It should be ticked, and then the automatically default one here should be yes. Automatically, it will be yes altogether. You don't need to type it. Now, the next question says, remove the re-embed field. The re-embed field should be removed. We don't need it, meaning we have to delete it. You just need to right-click on this side. Don't right-click here. But in some instances, like our 365, it will show. But in some older version, you will struggle to delete it. Otherwise, you right-click here and they say delete rows. So we don't need it, then it will be deleted automatically. Right, the next question says, a code for each meeting is made up of the following: 3 compulsory letters, of which the first is uppercase. So don't forget, we say letters, and there is 3 compulsory, meaning that we put 3L. Don't forget. So whenever you get a question paper, you start solving them step by step. 3L, followed by 2 compulsory digits. So 2 compulsory digits should be 2 zeros. And then a single letter entry optional. So a letter that is optional is question mark. Like example given to you. Now, it means the first 3 is capital letters, which is letter, followed by compulsory digits, 2 of them, and then the optional letter. Now, they said the first letter should be uppercase. So here, you put greater than and then less than here. Because the greater than L will be only for uppercase. Then when you put the less than, this 2L will be the lowercase. So that's how we do this type of question. Now let's go and put this here under the code input mask. So it should be greater than 2L or 1L, less than 2L, 2 zeros, and then a question mark. So this is how it's supposed to be. Right. Now let's check the next question. Change the existing input mask of the code field to ensure that the user enters that we have done that. Add a primary key to any suitable field except the description field. Now, a primary key should be something that is unique. So first of all, you must check your work in the datasheet view. So you have to check it. Now the unique one, if you don't see the unique one there, but then ID, I believe, will be the unique. Mostly the ID and then the phone number can also be unique sometimes. But then the speaker name, the photo, the topic, and all this cannot be. Or sometimes the code can also be unique. Right. Like here, it's a date of the meeting. 1 meeting per month. So meaning they don't duplicate. So you can set this date as a primary key. How do you set it? You right click on the field, you click on primary key. Alternatively, you can just see it here under the view and tools. You click on the primary key. Right, now let's move on to the next question. So that description, I don't have it. They wanted to copy the text into this in the datasheet view. Now let's go to the calculation. Add a calculated field called comment. Now we can also do calculations in database table, database form, database query, and database report. Now today I'm going to show you how to do these calculations. Remember, not all calculations in spreadsheet can be done here. Only few functions can be applied. Right. Now add a calculated field called comment that will display the message old employer if the person is 60 years and above, otherwise new employer. Now we have to open different field or different data. The club members, yes. We are using club members, and then we open it in design view. Now, the new one should be called comment. I think I did it here. I didn't, let me delete. The new one should be called comment. Now, anytime you are doing calculation, we insert calculated. We make it calculated, and then you put the formula here. So anytime you are doing calculation, the data type is calculated. So the moment you put calculation there, it will open the expression builder for you. If you don't get it, you go to expression, click on the three dots here, and it's going to open it for you. Now, the question says, if the person is older than 60, we say old employer. Other than that, is a new employer. Now, we are using if statement. Then the if statement in database is different from if statement in spreadsheet. For if statement, you put double IF. So the moment you start typing if, when you type 1I, it's going to give you double IF. Double click on this FX. It opens the bracket for you. Now, we have all the fields here. We are comparing with the age. So the age join, you double click, greater than 60, comma. Then you put into inverted comma, old employee. Otherwise, you put comma, new employee. Then you close the bracket. Right. So if the age, in most cases, or all the time, that the field is always in the square bracket. Here in database, we do not use the cell name like A1 or A2. We use the square bracket to represent the field. So if the age join, which is the field, is greater than 60, then the value that should be displayed is old employee. Otherwise, new employee should be displayed. Then you click OK. So the function will be here under the expression. If age join greater than 60, old employee, otherwise new employee. Now let's go and check if our calculation works. There we go. So we have it here. Some are new employees, some are old employee, based on the age that we use to do the calculation. Right. So this is all about that question. Now let's move straight to the next question. The second question. Please. Now it says adjust the properties of the name field so that it contains a maximum of 40 characters and display in uppercase. Now, like we said, uppercase, we put greater than, and then the number of characters, we put it under the field size. So we have to open the results table in design view. So the name, you click on the name. Always be careful about the field. Make sure that you have selected the right field. So the name and the data type should be 40. Then they said it should be in uppercase. Uppercase, you go to format, then you put greater than symbol. Lowercase, we put less than. Uppercase, we put greater than under the format property. So when we go there, when we type any name, I'm going to type a name in small case. Now, if I click anywhere, it changes automatically to uppercase. So that is how it works. Now, the next question. Make sure that the date field will display the current date every time a new record is added. Now, I've told you that anytime you see this question, every time a new record is added, meaning that it's default value. Now we have to display the current date. And in database, unfortunately, you cannot use today. Database, we don't have today function there. We don't have today function in database. Unlike spreadsheet where we have today for today's date, in database, we don't use today. So let's go there and check what function are we going to use. Now, when you click on the date field, remember here it says short text. So the date should be date and time. You have to change it. And then the default value. the default value, because of auto, anytime a new record is added, we place it under the default value. We can use date, open and close, or you can use now. I think most of you will remember now. So it displays the current date. Now, if you want current date and time, we use now. Now, it will display the current date and time. So remember, in database, we don't know anything called today. We don't use today. We use either date or we use now. So take note of that. Now let's check the next question. Add the field name mark between the name and then the date to store the final mark by each learner. So here, the new field is called mark between the name and then the date. So you right-click on the date, insert row, so that it will shift the date field to the bottom, and then you type mark underscore. Always type what the question wants you to type. Do not change it. Right, so the mark should be a number, because it's going to store students' mark. It should be a number. Assign a suitable data type to mark. We have done that. Set a primary key on a suitable field. Now, remember, we said primary key is unique. So among all these, which one is unique? It will be the learner ID or code, one of them. So we set the primary key, right-clicking, and then choose primary key. Right, the next question, add an input mark to the code field as follows. To accept 7 digits. Now the digits are as follows: 3 digits followed by a hyphen, followed by 3 letters, and then the example is given to you here. Sometimes they can only give you examples, so you have to check. So 3 digits followed by a hyphen, and then also 3 letters in capital case for the code. So what do you have to do here? Under the input mask, 3 digits, we put 3 zeros, followed by a hyphen. So we put a hyphen in inverted comma or dash, because it is a character, followed by capital letter 3, so greater than 3L. Please do not forget to type the letters, the L in uppercase, please. If you type in small case, it's not going to work, because it will not recognize it as an input mark character code. Now let's move to the next question. Insert a validation rule on donation field that any amount more than or equal to 500 will be accepted. Now, amount should be more or equal to 500. So that means greater or equals to. So here we cannot use between. We have to say greater than or equals to. So greater than or equals to 500. Or you can say greater than 499. They are all the same. All right. And then we put a validation text. Please, the validation text must always correspond to the field. So in this case, the best validation text would be donation amount should be from 500. Or you can say 500 rand. So like you can put it there. In most cases, you can get it from the question also. Go and check the question. It says amount more than or equal to 500. So you can say donation amount more than or from 500 accepted. Something like that. You get it from the question as well. Right, change the data type of the amount field appropriately. Make sure that there's no decimal place displayed. So amount, no decimal place, like I said, we have to choose amount should be currency. The same applies to the donation. Should be currency. Now the amount field should be no decimal place. So we have to choose 0 decimal place. Right. Now let's check the next question. Insert a record in datasheet view as follows. The learner ID is 234. The name is Naledi, and then date born. So you are inserting new record. We do that in datasheet view. So you go to datasheet view. Right. The primary key is giving us problem because there's an empty primary key. So we remove it and go and type. We make sure that we type the right one. Because I type SirAntwi here, I have to type an ID. Right, so to enter a new record, you just go there, then you type, you say 234, and then the name is Naledi. Then the date, you can put the date there and then other information that the question gave you. So remember, we capture the record in datasheet view. Now the next question, open the question table, sort the data alphabetically according to level field, set the background color to yellow and alternate color to red, change the cell effect to sunken, and set the row height to standard height. Right, so we open the question in datasheet view. Now the question says we have to sort it alphabetically according to the level. How do we do that? You go to the level. Unlike spreadsheet, whereby you have to select the entire table, here you only select that field. And then here we can choose, there's an arrow there, sort A to Z. Or you can also click here, the sort here. Or if you don't know where to find sort, go to datasheet view and type sort. It will also give you. Right. Now, the question says we have to also change the background color and then alternate background color. You go to text formatting, click on this arrow. The question says the background color should be yellow and alternate color should be red. So background color, we choose yellow. Alternate color is red. And then also the cell effect should be sunken and the row height to standard height. So the cell effect should be sunken instead of flat. We should go back and change. Right. And then the last question says we need to change the row height to standard height. So you just right click on one of the rows and then you choose row height. Then there's standard height. You take standard height. The original height is 30. So you take standard height and then okay. So this is what the question wanted us to do. Right. Let's move straight to the next set of questions. 5 water sewage. 5 water sewage. And then there's also some calculations there with the text functions. Let's take a look at that. Five water sewage. Right. So let's open the water sewage table. And according to the question, format the water sewage table as follows. Set one of the existing fields as primary key. Change the grid line settings so that both vertical and horizontal are displayed. Then the row height should be 20. And widen the column of the water sewage so that all the data will be displayed. So we have to widen the water use activity. You click in between water use activity and day 1. Then you drag it so that everything will be displayed. Right. And then we need to also change, set a primary key. Now let's check. The primary key will be the activity number because it is a unique field. As you can see here, it is the unique field. So we go back to the design view and then we right click on activity number, then we set the primary key. And then the row height should be 20. So we go back and change the row height to 20. You right click, row height, then you type 20. Then we change also ensuring that both the vertical and horizontal are shown. Then add a new field called photo, which will physically store a photo field between the day 7 and then, okay, here they didn't tell us where we must insert it. So we can insert it at the last one. Like I told you initially, that we can also add a new field in the datasheet view. So you see here, click to add. So you go there, click to add, and then we choose, because it's going to be OLE object. Here we don't see OLE object. But if it's other one, we can easily add it, or we can make it as attachment as well. Then we add a new name. We can change it here. Right, so we can just set it as photo and attachment, or we can also make it as OLE object. So whenever you are getting problem with any field, if there's no record, you can delete and insert it again. So here I can delete and type photo again, and then make it OLE object. Right, now the next question says, sort the record ascending order by day 7. So we go back to datasheet view, day 7, you select it, and it should be descending order. You go there and choose largest to smallest. The activity needs to be classified as to which time of the day they mostly use water. Insert a new field called use. We are going to insert a new field called use. And create a combo box. Like I told you at the beginning, combo box is the same as options, or they can say list, or they can also say look up with the following values: morning, noon, and then evening. Now, we are going to create a combo box for a new field called use. So we go and create a new field, use, and then here, where it says short text, we change it to look up wizard. Look up wizard. Then if you are going to type the values yourself, I will type in the values that I want. But if you want to select from another table or query, we choose the default one, the first one. So now this question here, we need to insert it. We are going to type the values ourselves. So we have to select, I will type in the value that I want. Next, then we type the values here. So the first one is morning, noon, and then evening. Right, here we want it to be in one column. Sometimes we can even get a question that demands 2 columns. Maybe morning, and then maybe morning, we have breakfast. Noon, we have lunch. And then evening, we have dinner. So let's say you want 2 columns to be like that, and you go to next. Now, next, and then you finish. So when you click on use, check lookup, then you see the values here. It's a value list with the items here. Now let's go and see how it looks like. So when I click on the arrow, you see the two columns: morning, breakfast, noon, lunch, and evening dinner. So if by the question, based on our question, we're supposed to choose only one column. So take note. I just gave this as an example to watch out for such type of questions, because most of the questions are only one column, but watch out for two columns as well. Right. Now let's check the next question. Insert a calculated field called code that will extract the first four letters of water use activity filled in uppercase. Now we are using text function. Those of you in grade 12, we have been doing text function in grade 12. Grade 11, also you can follow this, because text function is one of the most difficult functions in spreadsheet and database. But then look at how I'm going to make it easier here. Right. Now we are going to do calculation. So we go to data design view and put a new field called code. And then instead of short text, we choose calculated, because we want to do calculations. Now we are going to take the first four characters of the activity use number. So because of the first three, we use the function called left. Here you don't need to put equal sign. It will be there automatically for you. So left, double click on left, not the one with the dollar sign. Then you go and look for the field name that we are going to use for the calculation, which is the water use activity. Double click on it. It will be here, coming with the square bracket. Left of the water use activity, comma 4, because the question says it should be 4 characters. Then you close your bracket. Now, the question says it should be in uppercase. We come here just before the left. We are converting everything into uppercase. Here, unlike spreadsheet whereby we use upper, here we don't use upper, we say U case. U case. So when you start typing U, you see U case, that's uppercase. L case is lowercase. So take note of that. So U case, double click on FX, then you close your bracket. Remember, this bracket is for the U case. This bracket for the left is the one that we closed earlier. Click OK. Now let's see. Here we go. First 4 characters in uppercase, stored in the new field called code. So this is by the left. You can use the right function. You can use any of those functions. Remember to use left, and then we use the field name for our calculations. Right, now let's check the next question. Please, if you have any question as we solve this, you can drop your questions also in the comment section. I will attend to them. Right, we want to address every question regarding table. And then tomorrow we will be looking at form and queries. And then on Wednesday, we will finish database with the report. We want to finish database and HTML before the school closes, so that you'll be prepared for the examination. Right. Now, insert a calculated field called total that will add all the 7 days water activity. Now, again, we are going to use calculated field called total, and it should be calculated. Now it's going to add all the 7-day activities. All the 7-day activities. Yes, the video will be saved. The video will be saved. Right. The video will be saved. Yeah, because of we don't want it to be a large file. That's why I'm moving forward. I will just slow down sometimes as well. Right, the video will be available for you immediately after this lesson, and then you go over them. Data files will also be there. You watch and then you practice. If there's any challenging question, you put it in the comment section, and then I will address it as well. Right, now, we are adding all this. Unfortunately, in database, we do not have sum function. We only have if with double if, the text functions, the date and time functions, but not the sum and average and others in a table. So here we add them one by one, double click on day 1 plus day 2 plus day 3 plus day 4 plus day 5 plus day 6 plus day 7. These are the only one that we are looking for, and then you click OK. So now it will be stored as total, and then it will add all of them. Right. I think that's the last question for that one. Now let's go straight to the next one, Q5 France 2023. This was last year question paper, I think June 2023 question paper. A database containing Rugby World Cup matches has been created. Open the Q5 France 2023 database. Table sheet 1 is not necessary. Delete the table. Work in the matches table. So let's open it. Q5. And then we open the matches table. Table 1 is not necessary. We have to delete it. So here's table 1 or sheet 1. We don't need this. So you right click and say delete. Then you click on yes. It will be deleted for you. Right. The next question, set the field size of score field. We should set the field size of the score field to allow 2 digits. 2 digits, that's the double one with a 2 digit. The field size should be 2. Ensure that the user must enter the team name in the home team. So must enter. So like I said, must enter, meaning that required, yes. Change the properties of the win-lose field so that the user can choose from W and L when capturing the data in this field. So here, they are talking about choose. So that is options, meaning we have to just look up with that. Set the match date field in the following manner. The tournament started on the 8th of September 2023. So let's start with the first one. The field size and then the home team must also be set. So we choose the field size for the score. Not score 2, they said the score. The field size, it cannot be long integer. So we have to take note. The 2 digits. So double. And then we also have byte integer. So the 2 digit can also be integer. Then we change it to the fixed with a decimal place, no decimal place. Or we choose just the double, only 2 digits. Right. And then they say with the home team must be set as required. So required for home team should be yes. And then the next question, only the win or lose should be W or L. So win, lose, this one should be W and L. So we choose lookup wizard. I will type in the value that I want. And then we type the values W and then L. So here we will see that it has only W and L when you go to win and lose. it gives those two options. Now, the match date. The tournament started on 8th of September 2023 and ended 28th of October 2023. So now we have to put validation rule for the match date. So here is the match date. And then we type validation rule between. Since we know the start date and the end date, please type the date in the basic format, the day, which is the 8/September 09/2023, and the end date. Let's check the end date, 28th October 2023. Please type it this week in the basic format. Just type it in that basic format by using between 08/09/2023 and 28th October 2023. Don't bother yourself to put the hashtag. The latest office will be there automatically. But the old ones, you just, if it's not showing, just put the hashtag yourself. You put the hashtag before the date. But then here, you don't need to type them. It will be there automatically. So if the office that you are using at school doesn't allow that, then you just leave it. It becomes easier. So here, I didn't type. By the moment I went that side, it changed automatically with the hashtag. I didn't type the hashtag. So that's how we set the date. Type the date in the basic format, the day / the month / the year, and it will do that automatically. Right. And then the validation text will be match date from, then you type the date, 9 from the 8th September 2023 to 28th October 2023. Just type it. Don't say between, just use from, otherwise you'll be penalized. Use from the start date to the end date. And you must also mention the field that you are referring to. If you just say it should be, then they can penalize you as well. So mention the field name, followed by the date, the start date, and then the end date. And make use of from to instead of between. Otherwise, you are repeating the same rule, which you are going to be penalized. Right. The next question is sales. Let's check what needs to be done there. If there's a question that we can skip. Here, primary key. And then to ensure that only numbers greater than 10 and less than 100 can be entered. So here we use between 11 and 99. So you can see here, the validation rule should be between 11 and 99. Because it says greater than, that means 10 is not included. And then also less than 100, that means 100 is not included. Or you can say greater than or equals to. Or we can just say greater than 10 and less than 100 also. Right, so you can use any of them as the rule. Now, here, the lookup. So here is also the lookup wizard, and then you type these values. Input mask, 2 numbers, followed by dash, and then 2 letters. So here is also going to be 2 zeros, followed by dash, and then lastly by 2 letters. And this is required and field size. So you can try this question also at home for me. Right, now let's move straight to 5 animal, last year question paper, and see what is different that we can touch. We will try to solve questions that are unique as well. So I'll open 5 animal. Right, it says set the property of the keeper name field. That will make sure a zookeeper is always assigned to an animal enclosure. Now, I want to highlight this keyword. Always assigned to animal enclosure. Property to a keeper name field. That will automatically ensure that a zookeeper is always assigned to an animal enclosure. So always assigned, meaning that you cannot leave it. It should be a must. Always. You cannot leave that part. So now here we set it as required, yes. Change the time field to accept values between this one. Now let's check. According to the question, we have to open the TBL 5_1. So the animal name should be set as required, yes. And then the second one say the time field. So remember the time should be date and time, not short text. And then the format, it should be the hour and then the minute, like this one, short time. Or if you don't have that particular format there, you can type them there, like what it gave you as. Let's check the question, the hour and then the minute. So it's the short time, which is this one. Or you can just make it HH and then MM. There was no second, and that's the short time for you. Right, the next question, set the property of the enclosure field so that it will display a message as shown. Now the message says only habitat or exhibit. Now, this is the validation text. They did not give the rule, so they wanted to put the rule there. Enclosure, validation rule. They say only, the rule should be only habitat or, so meaning we have to type in inverted comma, habitat, separated by all. Remember when it is a text, we separate with all. So if there are 10, we separate each of them with all. And then, so if you have more than one, you separate again with all. And then the validation text will be only, it was there on the screen, only habitat or, right. So you can say enclosure should be only habitat or exhibit. So that's why you put there. Now the keeper of the animal have a code that they use to access the enclosures. Create an input mask as follows. For the access code, a letter such as the first letter of the first name. So a letter meaning that we put L, followed by the @ followed by 4 digits of the cell phone number. So here also we put 4 digits. An optional character, like we said, optional character is not, we will use the capital C. Capital C is the optional character. Let's check it again. From the input mark sheet, capital A and small a is for letter or digit. Now, any character we use this one. N is for compulsory letter or character. and then capital C for optional character. So take note. You must always refer to your input math sheet. So let's change it. Enclosure field, access code. So the first one is the letter. The first one is the letter, followed by at. So you put the at. Oh, sorry, shouldn't be validation, should be input mask. Letter, followed by at. You put the at in inverted comma. And then followed by 4-digit, which is 4 zeros. Then followed by optional character, which is capital C. Right, so this should be our input mask L, which is the composer letter, followed by at symbol in inverted comma, and then also followed by 4-digit and then optional letter. Right, so that is it for that question. Then the next one, they gave you example here. So as you can see the example, sometimes they can only give you example, then they ask you to follow that example and then you create it. We will look at that type of question. Delete the field next feed. So we don't need next feed, so you right click and choose delete. Right, so we are done with that question. Now let's move straight to the next question. Yeah, I want a question that involves date calculations. Let's check 5 customers. Ensure that the employee name field will appear in uppercase and never be left blank. So let's open the 5 customers. And then we open the table TBL 5_1. Now the first question says, we should ensure that the employee surname will appear in uppercase and never be left blank. So uppercase, like we said, we put greater than under the format to change it to uppercase capital letters. Less than is lowercase. And then the next question says, left blank. It should not be left blank. That means required must be set to yes. So this question were 2 in 1. First one is the format, and then the second one not be left blank. Each employee has a login password code that they use to access the system. Edit the field property of the password. So we are going to edit the property of the password field to allow the following entries. The first initial of the employee, which is the letter. So it's L, which should be capital L. So that one should be greater than first initial, that is a letter, and it should be uppercase. Followed by the year of the employee. The year is always number, which is 4 numbers. So this should be the validation rule. Ensure that the information will display in capital letters. Right. So we go and apply it on password field. Now let's go to password field. And then the input mask is greater than L and then 4 zeros. The next question. Change the date started field to display in a short date format. So date started, the format should be short date. Remember, we need to change from short text to date and time. Then we can change the format to short date. If, like this type of question, they use it to confuse learners, you need firstly to change the data type before you come and apply it here. Right, the next question, ensure that the level type field will allow users to choose from the following: cashier, manager, and network admin. So the level type, we change it to lookup wizard. Then I will type in the value that I want, and you type the values, which is cashier, and then manager, then lastly network admin. Then we finish it. Right. Now the next question. Employee receive a bonus every year in the month they started working. Modify the calculation in the start bonus field to display the name of the month for each employee. Now they already made a calculation here by using a function called month name. Now I want to explain what the month name is. If you use the month name function, firstly, you want to display the name of the month in full. Now, it wants you to type from 1 to 12. Let's say you are displaying January, we type 1, February, we type 2. So depending on the month you want to display. So 1, and then comma. Then we have true and false. The true, when you put true, it will short it, like this one will give you answer as JAN. But if you put false, it's going to type January in full. So basically, that's how month name function works. Now, this question gave us month name 1 false. Now let's go and check here. When we go, it says January. And then the person's date time they started is 2nd February 1998. And it's saying January. So it should be February. So there was a mistake. So we needed to change. How do you change a function? You can do it here, or you just click on the 3 dots and you modify it here. So we needed to change this one into 2. False, meaning we want it to be in full, the abbreviation, and then okay. So here it displays February for us. Right, that's what the question wanted us to do. Now let's move straight to the next set of questions. Also, primary key, field size, background colors. You can do this also at home for me, learners. It's all about, this one says alignment. So here there's a property called alignment. Don't forget, you can align it here, or you do it this side, you can align it here. If they say align the cell names, right? So you can do it here. You select it, or alternatively, you can also do it under the property. Click on cell name, and then you see text align. We have it also there. So don't forget to also apply the alignment. So you can do this question for me, sorting according to numbers. These are the basic. But then there's a question here about creating a new one. I think I must solve this question also with you. So I'll have to open the 5-city weather. There are some new set of questions that I have to also touch it. Right. So this question, first of all, we must set the primary key for the Cape Town table. So we open Cape Town table in design view, and we set the primary key to month. You click on month, and then you click on primary key. Then the second one, the properties of the month field as follows. Field size should be 15 and capital letters. So the field size, we change it to 15. And for capital letters, like I said, you put greater than. Then change the data type of any snow day field to more appropriate type. any snow days field. It says number. Now let's go and check what it contains first before we can judge. Now, any snow days. Yes, they are numbers, yeah. So it's number already. And then the field size, because it's 0 and 1, we can make it integer. And then change the alternate row color to white for all white background colors. So alternate color should be white. So we go and change it from our datasheet view. Alternate color to the white. All background to the white as well. And then lastly, the grid line, only vertical should be displayed. So meaning the horizontal, we don't display it. Only the vertical should display. Right, the next question. Change the height of the rows to 20 and right align. So the height should be 20, you right click and say row height, then we change it to 20. And we right align the month field. You select the month field, like I said, right. Sort the table according to the number. You select the number field, sort ascending, or you can click here and choose sort ascending from smallest to largest. Right. Then this one says we have to create a new table called TBL 5_4. And then the table should look like this. Now, we need to create a new table by going to create table design. Now, the new table should have the following. Number, which should be automatic number with the primary key. So the first one is number. And we should set it as auto number. And we should make it a primary key. The next one is contact person. And then the contact person should be, this field cannot be left blank. So a short text, it cannot be left blank, meaning required should be yes. Then the contact number. Remember, a number, a phone number or contact number should always be, the phone number or the contact number should always be a short text. It should always be a short text. It cannot be a number because of the 0 that starts with. So here it says the number can be captured as follows: 082 in bracket followed by the digit given to you. So now that means the input mask, you open bracket and 3 zeros, you close the bracket, followed by how many digits? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 digits. Right. And that should be the input or input mask. Then the next one is email. An email address is valid if it has the @ symbol in the middle. Example, pete@gmail.com. Set the validation rule to test the validity of the email address. Remember to add the validation text. So this is email. And it should be a link because it's going to be hyperlink. We choose hyperlink. And then validation rule for it. it says it should include the at symbol. So you put asterisk, at, and then asterisk. That means include at symbol. Then the validation text, email should include at symbol. Right. Now the next question, province, and the province should contain all these 8 provinces to choose from. So here, province. To choose, meaning we have to use lookup wizard. I will type in the value that I want, and then you type the values here, EC, Northwest, Northern Cape, GP, so you type all the 8, and then the last one is Free State, and then we also have KZN, right? So here the options will be there for us to choose. For the table name should be called TBL 5_4. So you type TBL 5_4. Right, if let's say you made a mistake, don't forget when you close it, you can still change the name here by right-clicking and then you choose rename. Now let's look at the other question. City field, which should be a text, and then the field size should be 20. So we have the city field, and then the field size should be 20. Right. So basically, this is what we needed to do regarding this question. Now, let's also look at this Cape Town. I want to add this type of question also. It was not there. Let's say you have a question, and then they want you to find the sum of the any snow days. The sum of the any snow days in the datasheet view. So here, we have to activate what we call the totals. You activate totals, then it's going to give you a total row. Then the column that you are going to do the calculation, you look for that column. And then here we choose sum. So look at some of the functions there. We have average, count, minimum, maximum. So here we select sum, and it's going to calculate for you. This is the total function used in datasheet view. The total function used in datasheet view. Right. Now let's move straight to the next question. 5 ranking, I won't go over it because it's similar to the first one. So you can try your hands on it. This also, the top 10 rankings, the font size and others. Let's only focus on this about the 5 ranking. Then we solve this part. We want to try as many as all the questions so that you will know how to tackle database table. Right, so 5 ranking, let me open it and then we do this question. Don't forget, you can try your hands and do this type, the first part of the question for me. And then here the 5 top rankings. The font must be set to Calibra 12 PT and display in green color. We do this in datasheet view. So you click here to select all of them. You click on this edge here to select all of them for you. The font should be Should be 12 PT. And it should be Calibra. And then they say the font color should be green. The width of all columns to ensure that data is visible. So here we just double click in between each to ensure that all of them are visible, or you just stretch it. To adjust them properly. Yeah. So that's how we set so that all the data is visible. Then the next one is the color of the grid line must be red, background color yellow, and then the total. So we go to text formatting, background color to be yellow, grid line color to be red. And then the last part is activate the total command to calculate the highest rating received by a player. Ratings. So you click on totals. It will give you the total row. Then under the ratings, you go there on the total row and choose highest, which is maximum. Maximum. Right. So that's how we do these calculations with a total command. Right. Let's check 5 movies. I think all the questions. This is the default value. Let's check 5 movies. I think there's a technical question there that I need to share with the learners as well. And 5 gallery also with some calculations there. We need to touch it. There are so many questions that I've put together, and I will urge you to try your hands on each and every question here. We might not be able to go through all the questions, but they follow the same trend, the calculations, the input map, but we'll look for some of the challenging ones before the time ends, because we have about 20 minutes to go. Right. I will go through some few questions here. Five movies. Right. Now, according to this one, it says work in the performance table. So here is the performance table. Change the field size of the film to 50. So we go and change the film size to 50. And then make sure that the user has to enter data in the US release date field by adding a new record. That's the default value. So US release date, a user has to enter. That means required yes. Whenever you see has to enter, I mean required yes. Add a new field called code after the word rank. After, so meaning it's going to replace the budget. So we right click on the budget, then we choose insert, and then we put a new field called code. Create input mask for the code field to restrict formatting as follows. Accept 3 or 4 letters in uppercase. Now here, this one changes the whole thing. You know, some of the questions that we have been doing is different. Here it says accept 3 or 4. That means the first 3 are compulsory. So it should be uppercase, which is greater than 3L. But because of all, meaning the 4th one is optional, which is question mark. Then here again, accept 2 or 3 digits. So meaning we have 2 zeros and then 1 9 because of the all. Right. So basically, that is what this question wanted us to do under the code field. So input mass, we put 3L and then question mark for optional letter. Don't forget to put the greater than, and then 20 and then 19. 9 is the optional number. Right. The properties of the cinema score field so that the user can choose from. So cinema score. Choose from, meaning that we have to choose lookup wizard. And then I will type in the values. Options are A minus, so we type them here vertically. A positive, B, and then B plus, B or B minus. Right. So those are the options. Don't forget, you'll find them under lookup. So if you made a mistake, you can go and change it here. Value list and then the row source. Now let's check the next question. Set the property of the budget field so that a suitable message would display if the incorrect data is entered in this field. And then the budget must be greater or equals to 30. So the budget must be greater or equals to 30, which is the validation rule, greater or equals to 30. And then the message should be budget amount from 30 in millions or 30 million. Right. Data sheet row high, changing the column. We don't need that. Now, I have the 5 gallery that needs some calculation. I'll only touch the calculation part. Henceforth, all the questions that we are going to do. Those are some of the difficult. As for the validation rule and input math, I think most of you have gotten the concept right. Now, let's go to 5 gallery. It says the stock in the gallery should be insured for 25% more than the total value of the stock. Now, insert a new field called insure with a calculated data type to determine the insured value of the stock. TBL exhibit. The stock in the gallery should be insured for 25% more than the total value. That means percentage increase. So here we call it percentage increase. We are increasing this amount, which is total value, by 25%. Now, in this normal calculations, met or met late, remember we do this VAT increase and VAT exclusive. Now, we have the 25% adding more than, so the original percentage is 100% plus the 25% that we are increasing with. So here we are going to have 125%. So the calculation will be, which is going to be 125 over 100. That is the percentage now, times the total value. Right. 125 over 100 times the total value, because we are increasing it. Or alternatively, we can just say 1.25. The percentage that they give you, remove the percentage symbol, and then you replace with the dot. So 1.25 times the total value. So if they are increasing by 30% to 1.30 times the total value. If they are increasing by 10%, 1.10 times the total value. So if you understand that concept of the percentage increase, just put 1, then dot the percentage that you have been given, and then times that particular field. So now let's look at that question. We are creating a new field called ensure. And then now this ensure one will be calculated. And then it will be 1.25 times the total value. Here is the total value. And then okay. So this will be our new percentage or increase. The amount is 950,000. Now, with a 125%, it's going to give us this. Right, so basically that's how we do the percentage increase and percentage decrease. If it was about discounted price, you were just going to say calculated and then now, because you are reducing by 25%. So if you take 25 from 100%, you are going to get 75%. So here will be either 75 over 100 or 0.75 times the total value. So in this case, when you are reducing, you say 0 point after taking that percentage from 100. So if you are reducing by 25%, to be 0.75. If you are reducing by 10%, 0.90. Then it's going to give you the answer. So this is the reduction, which is the percentage decrease. Right, so take note, you can meet such type of questions in database or spreadsheet. Use this approach to solve these questions. Now, let's take a look at this question also that needs calculated field. 5 bookings. 5 bookings. It also needs calculations. It says we should, I think the first one, the size. Okay, let's go through all of them. Change the size of the gender field to only accept F or M. So TBL info, the size of the gender field to only accept F or M. That means should be one size because it contains 1 letter. And then create a validation rule for the email field to ensure that a user adds an ad in the email address. So email, a user adds an email. So you put *add*. It contains an @ symbol. That's how it's supposed to be. And then the next question, the passenger code consists of compulsory number and 2 capital letters. The code ends with an asterisk. So compulsory number and then 2 capital letters. So here is the code. Input mask. It starts with a number, which is 0, and 2 capital letters greater than 2L, ending with an asterisk. So you put an asterisk in inverted comma because it's a character. So it's going to be 0. So this one is going to be 0 for one number, followed by greater than for capital letters, and then also followed by asterisk in inverted comma. So this should be the input mask. Right, change the data type of the vaccination field so that the user can add a tick in the tick box if the passenger has been vaccinated. So vaccination should be yes or no. A tick meaning that yes and no. And then the next one, open the TBL flight. Everybody who wants to depart after the 6th September 2022 will receive a spring discount of 15%. add a calculated field called new to calculate the new price that these travelers will pay. So the table TBL flight. So we are adding a new field called new. And then it should be calculated. Then the question says, those who departed after the 6th September 2022 will receive a spring discount of 15%. Discount. So we are going to calculate a new price, which is discounted price. Now, we have to use the if statement. If those who departed, so departure date after the 6th September 2022, so greater than 06 6 September 2022, then comma. We have to calculate 15% discounted. So they are going to have discount of it. Now, when we take 15% from 100, we are going to have 85%. So to be 85 over 100 times the cost. Otherwise, they pay the full cost. So here, if the departure date is greater than, say, September 2022, that is more than after, then they are going to have 15% discount, which is 85% now. 85 over 100 times the cost. Otherwise, they will receive the full cost. That should be the calculation. So now all those who departed after will now get a discount of 15%. So basically, that's how we do calculation that involves if statement and also the discount. This was a higher order question, and I believe with this video, you'll be able to solve these questions. Now, the rest of the questions are similar. I want to look for a question that involves a date, whereby I can show you how to calculate date and time calculations as well. Because we talk about the text, now we want to see the date and time also. I can take the 5 survey to conclude, then you do the rest of the questions. They are all similar to whatever that we have done. You can try your hands on them, and then if there's any question that right. Sorry, let me just go through again, and then I'll get back to you. The next question here, we are going to focus on a calculation that involves date and time. I'm looking for such type of calculations. 5 survey, I think it involves date and time as well. Right. Edit the table info in design view as follows. Move the primary key. So here's the table info. And then we should move the primary key from the code field to the survey number field. So the primary key was in the code. Now they want us to put it here. Just have to right click and choose primary key. So now it will move from here to that side. The next question, move the name field so that it appears after the surname. Here is the name. Now they want it to be after the surname. So we are moving it down. So how do we move it? Make sure you click on this box, the gray box here. You click, you hold down the key, you hold down, and then you drag it. When you are holding down, make sure it changes to this icon. Then you now move it. I will do again. Click, hold down, so you see that dotted rectangular shape. Then you move it to any space that you want it to be. So that's how you move one field to another when you get that type of question. Create an input mask on the code field to ensure that user insert a code in the required format. Study the data in the code field in datasheet view before creating the input mask. Now, we have to first go and check the code field. How is the code entered? So first of all, how do you put this input mask? What you can do in such situation is to get, you double click, let me redo. Initially, it was like this. Double click here so that it will go to the last character or the last code, the longest one. So you check, the longest one will be the one near. You go through and check the longest one. So as you can see, the longest one are these ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you take the longest, at least 1 or 2, and then you take the shortest. So now you can see that when it comes to the shortest one, but fortunately this one, it seems all of them have the same number of characters. They are all 6 characters. So it's easier, all of them have the same number of characters. So if they have the same number of characters, you check. Each of them is having a letter, which is compulsory, followed by a number. The second character is a number. So like if I copy this one, so that I can show it clearly here. Because this was the higher order question. You need firstly to write it there, and then you'll be able to analyze. This is 5. This is 5. And then we have another 5 also, which is numbers. Right. At least you have 2 or 3, then you can determine it easily. Now let's check here. The first ones here, each of them, I'm going to color code it. Each of them are letters. The second one, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All the 4, the 4 that are following are all numbers as well. So in examination, just study it. You can write it on your paper and check the longest and then the shortest. Now the last one, this is a character. Here, it has a character or ignored, and this is also another character, which is optional. This one is optional. So how do we do it? Because the first one are capital letters, we put greater than L. And now followed by 4 numbers, which is compulsory. Then followed by any character optional. Because why is it optional? Because the second one doesn't have this one. It doesn't have. And it could also be space. Who knows? But then we will take it as optional character, which is C. So this should be the validation rule for that. You have to first study it before you'll be able to analyze it. So this one, the code will now be, the input must will be greater than L, 4 zeros, and then C. You have to study it before. This is the higher order question. Right. Validation rule was set. Insert appropriate date validation text. I won't talk about that. Now I want to go straight to the date, and then there's a calculation also. I want to do a date calculation. Since this one has date in and date out, so I can use for so many calculations. I can have calculations like days. If I want to calculate the number of days between the two dates. Now, unlike spreadsheet here, we don't have days. So what you need to do if you want two dates is date out minus date in. And then okay. So this one will give you the number of days. All right, this one was already there. Okay, let me say days 2. So days 2, date out minus date in. All right, now, let me also calculate the number of years. How do you calculate the number of years? There are 2 ways. You can use the year function, year, then you click on date out, you close the bracket, minus another year, date in, you close the bracket. So if you want to calculate the years, year into bracket, date out minus the date in, and then to give the number of years. So this is the number of years. It gives us 0 because of the comma 1. Right. And then also, we could have calculated the years again. Let's say years 1. By using the 2 dates given to us. Let's say they want to find the number of years based on the current date. Now here, we don't have today. Here, you cannot see today. We have to use what you call date serial. Date serial, and then you type the date in the normal format. Today's date is 28/04 2025. So you put the year function, the year of the date serial minus year of the date out. Let's check the date serial again. From the functions, date serial. We have date serial, let me see. Yeah. Or start with the year 2025, comma, the month, which is 04, and then the day 28. So you start with the year, the month, and then the day. So the year of the current date minus the year into bracket. You go to the table info, the date out. right? So if the question wants you to refer to the current date, then you need to use what we call date serial when it comes to the table calculations. It won't work today. There's no today or now when it comes to table calculation. We use the date serial and you put the current date. We have other functions like the time serial. If you go to date and time, you see the time serial. We have the weekday, the year function, the second, the minute, the hour, and then the day. Watch out for this type of functions. They can ask you any of these questions. Now, after calculating this, if the question wants you to put it in integer, you can also use the function called int. int, double click on fx, then you close the bracket. Right, so integer, you can convert it to an integer also. Watch out for this type of calculation. Date serial, the date calculations, and all that. Right. There are so many other questions that I would like you to try your hands on. I'm going to share this document with you, like this one, 5 activity. Recommend to display the value yes if the start revealed is greater or equals to 3. Otherwise, no. So this is the if statement that you can also use. This type of question also without decimal and also to contain @ symbol. We have done some of these questions. Try your hands on all this, and I believe the examination, the upcoming examination is going to be easier for you. Thank you for joining us today. Tomorrow, we are going to focus on forms as well as queries. And then Wednesday, we'll be dealing with report database. Then we conclude everything about database. I'll share all these questions with you. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.